Aloha students. So I wanted to make this video to help show you some of the interactive digital access materials that we'll be using this semester for our immunology class. So the IDAP program is a program that is run by certain publishers of textbooks working with the UH Manoa bookstore to be able to provide the content of textbooks and also interactive course learning materials directly through Laulima. I sent you a couple of announcements about this previously to give you a heads up, but essentially IDAP is not free, right? You have to subscribe to IDAP to be able to make use of all the features for the course. But importantly, the publishers and the bookstore have worked together to make a very competitive pricing. So I believe it's something like $75, which is automatically added to your MyUH account because you are officially enrolled in the immunology class. And that $75 then gives you access to the ebook version of the textbook, as well as many of the other really cool resources that we'll be using. For example, you can view animations that really make it easier to understand some of the concepts that we're learning about in class. There are case studies that provide sort of real world examples of how many sort of issues with immunology, especially with pathology, are sort of unraveled and described. There's also, importantly, the Inquizitive homework assignments. And that in particular is very important because we will be using that as our sort of weekly homework assignment. And it's an interactive type of assignment. And I'll talk to you about how that works. Okay. So first off, I wanted to show you, here we have our Laulima page for our site with the main overview. Over here on the left, you can see you have the ebook access link. So if you go ahead and click on that, it goes ahead and it accesses the ebook from the publisher. So here, the Immune System, 5th edition, right? This is the book that we're using. If you want to have a hard copy version of this, because I know many of you like to have a hard copy version, the nice thing about being enrolled in IDAP is you can purchase a hard copy at a tremendous discount. I think you can get it for $30 compared to if you were to try to just buy it off of like Amazon or something separately, which would be like over $100. Okay, so for those of you who don't really like ebooks, you can get this hard copy. But I would say give the ebook a try first. So the ebook, of course, gives you access to all the chapters. For example, if you click on chapter 1, elements of the immune system, it loads up and you have your textbook in ebook form. Okay, let me go back. All right, and we'll back out of this here. So the ebook, this new version is an update of the edition that we had been using in this class for the last few semesters. So it has some really nice up-to-date content in it, especially having to do with SARS-CoV-2 and the COVID-19 pandemic. So it's actually very, very updated. So I'm very excited about this 5th edition. As part of IDAP, you also have access to animations if you look over here. So the animations are a bunch of animations that are provided by the publisher. So for each chapter, there's anywhere between just one animation that you can view up to, let's say chapter 8, I think, has like 11 separate little animations. You just click on these and you can go ahead and watch them. All right, the first chapter 1 is just sort of an overview, and they're short, but importantly, I think they're very beneficial because they really bring a lot of the concepts, some of the trickier concepts to life by you being able to see how things move around, right? A picture is always worth 1,000 words, right? So anyhow, so I will be encouraging you to look at these animations as a way of supplementing your studying as we move ahead. All right. The case studies on the left here, these are really wonderful because these are very real world case studies of how different types of diseases related to the immune system sort of manifest in patients. Now, it is pretty complex. A lot of these do assume a certain level of already understanding of the material. So as such, I don't really, at this point, have any plans to make any of these, readings required. Okay. But as we go through the semester, and if I find that certain case studies relate really well to what we're talking about in a particular lecture, then I'll make sure to encourage you to take a look at that case study. Okay. And you might say, well, that's just extra reading. Why would I do it if it's not required? I think it's because it's very satisfying if you're learning about something, right? To be able to actually read a real case study and have sort of the dots connect in your mind, to actually be able to see how the things we're learning about in this class really show up in real world situations. In clinics with patients, et cetera. And there's no doubt in my mind that these case studies will kind of help you with a better understanding of how these things that we learn actually relate to what you might encounter if you are, for example, planning on being a professional healthcare provider as a career. Okay. And then I also wanted to show you the inquisitive homeworks. Okay, so this is what I'm particularly excited about. So each chapter has one of these homework assignments or inquisitive sort of adaptive quizzing type of assignment. Right? When you click on one of these, for example, chapter 1, all right, it'll load up. And again, because this is all being connected to the publisher. So you'll often see this green badge here that says connected to the learning management system. That means even though we're accessing the publisher site, it knows that it's connected to Laulima. Right? Your screen might look a little different than mine because as the instructor, I have different options, but you can go ahead and I can go ahead and try this activity as a student just to take you through some of the important points. So the idea with these adaptive types of assignments is in real time, as you are presented with questions, you can sort of customize your assignment experience depending upon how comfortable you are, how confident you are about the subject and your ability to answer. Okay. So you can see here, you will gain points for questions that you answer correctly, and you will lose points for incorrect answers, right? So it's a lot like the game show Jeopardy, right? Like at the Final Jeopardy where they have to sort of ahead of time wager a certain amount of money. And then if they get the answer correct, right, they'll earn that money. But if they get it wrong, they'll lose that. Right? So you can change the point value of each question depending upon how confident you are. Right? And then you must answer at least 20 questions to get credit for doing this activity at all. Right? And you will be building up your score as you're going along, and your target score, you can see here, is 1,500 points. And you will reach a grade of 100% if you reach this point value before you go ahead and say, okay, that's it. I'm done with this assignment. I don't want to do it anymore, right? The nice thing is that you don't have to do it all in one sitting, right? So let's give it a try real quickly and I'll show you. So I'll go to the start answering questions. Okay. For example, elements of the immune system, chapter 1, right? It's nice because you can see it tells you where in the textbook, in the eBook that it's referring to. And it shows here which of the following are considered part of the gut-associated lymphoid tissues, or what we call the gut or the GALT, right? And then in this case, it's sort of a drag and drop. So let's pretend, I'm not too confident about this, right? Or actually defaults to, I think I know it because, okay, I'm a good student, right? I paid attention in lecture. I kind of looked over the study guide or whatever. So I might leave it there, right? And I might say part of the gut-associated lymphoid tissues. Oh boy, I don't know. What if I put the Payer's patches? Okay. Oh, that's correct, right? It tells me it's right. Okay, that's good. And you can see then, since we're still in the same question, it hasn't given me credit yet for finishing this question. But let's say I said, I don't know, maybe my thymus. Oh no, that's not right. But what's nice is that not only does it tell you well, that is not right, but it tells you an explanation of why that isn't correct. Okay. And what's really nice about it is it tells you the link to what page in the ebook you can look at to check that out. So if I click page 29, you see the ebook opens up on this side, and I can actually go right to the place in the ebook that talks about GALT or this type of gut lymphoid tissue. All right, so let me try again. Okay, let me close this side. All right, Payer's patches. Let's say, Payer's patches, gut-associated lymphoid tissues. All right. If I try that, it's correct, right? Tonsils, I don't think are gut-associated. Oh, right. So they're saying, oh, you thought wrong, right? And again, it goes and directs me to the textbook. Okay. Lymphoid tissues. All right. The thymus is not part of the GALT. The spleen is not part of the GALT. The appendix is part of the GALT. Okay, there we go. Right, and it tells me between my getting choices right versus wrong. Right, I've earned myself 30 points. Okay, and that's all based upon where I had the slider at the beginning, because I was at the think I know it. Right, that means I will earn 30 points on this question. Right, if I was super confident about it, for example, let's just go to the next one. Right, if I'm super confident about it, look, I can scale this up to I know it. And now I have 100 points at stake, right? Meaning if I get it right, I'll earn 100 points. But if I get it wrong, I'm going to lose 100 points. Okay. So anyways, that's how this works. And so you can see it's very adaptive, and you can customize it to how you're feeling, right? And the nice thing is, if you just keep at it, eventually you can always reach your 100% goal. All right. So you might think, well, what does that mean? That means in reality, I have the potential to get 100% on every single one of these homework assignments, just as long as I study and I try hard and I do them. Yeah. Right. Because if you think about it, right, why shouldn't it be like that? Okay. But the key is you have to get them done by the time they're due. All right. So that means you can have all week to work on these, but don't let it pile up, because if you don't get it done, then you'll just end up with whatever percentage you were at, right? And I believe in the course syllabus, I tell you that these homework assignments in total are worth something like 10% of your entire grade, right? This is the first time we're doing this type of IDAP with these interactive assignments. That's why, even though I'm excited about it and I want you guys to benefit from using these, I think these could be really fun and a great way to really get yourself motivated to keep up with this stuff. I didn't want to make it worth too much of your grade, right? So 10% I think is enough to really make a difference. Okay, the last thing, I'm going to go back to La Lima here, is I did want to remind you, right, that under the syllabus, if you go there, you do have the syllabus and the schedule that talks about things like the grade breakdown. Okay, so homeworks, again, that was the inquisitive stuff that we were just looking at. That's worth 10%, right? Quizzes take place over La Lima. So quizzes are done more sort of conventionally as a La Lima quiz, essentially once a week, right? Or it's multiple choice, 20 minutes timed. And that's the same way that I've been running the quizzes for the last few semesters. And then we have our 3 exams worth 25% each, and that all adds up to 100% for the course. Okay, then the schedule. One thing I wanted to point out on the schedule is you'll see that in the columns on the right here, I have homeworks and quizzes as reminders, right? So for example, week 2, by Wednesday of week 2, right? I want you to have finished the inquisitive interactive homework assignments for chapters 1 and 2, right? So that gives you plenty of time to go ahead and start doing these. For example, we are here in week 1, we're just finishing talking about chapter 1, we'll finish on Wednesday. So maybe you'll feel comfortable starting chapter 1 inquisitive homework assignment at that point. Okay. And then once we start talking about week 2, chapter 2 stuff, right? We'll finish that on Monday. And so you have Tuesday and Wednesday to work on the chapter 2 stuff. And then you just have to have them done by Wednesday night so that the your grades are basically locked in. Right? Likewise, the Laulima quizzes will be due on Thursday nights. So I have it staggered a little bit. So it's not like you're worrying about finishing homework on a Wednesday night and you still have to remember to take a Laulima quiz, right? So they have them staggered about that. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in lecture. Okay, so for now, that's what I wanted to show you. I also wanted to mention that, IDAP is not mandatory, right? So if you're feeling like, hey, that's not fair, right? I have to pay $75 or whatever it is, that the bookstore is charging for this. I didn't want to do that. I'd rather just buy the ebook separately and whatever. So you can opt out of IDAP, right? Because you have until, I think it's the class drop deadline to drop out of IDAP. But the problem is that you'll still need access to things like the Inquizitive homework assignments that count as 10% of your grade. And you're probably going to want things like the ebook animations and case studies. So if you tried to buy all that stuff separately, I mean, the textbook alone is, I think the ebook alone, if you buy it from the publisher, is $75 already, right? And that doesn't necessarily give you the other good stuff, right? So I strongly encourage you to consider staying with the IDAP, right? Because I think it is priced competitively to make a really good, meaningful set of resources for our immunology semester. But if you want to know more about IDAP, there is a link that goes to the UH Manoa bookstore where they provide you information about IDAP and what your options are. Okay. All right. So that's what I wanted to go over with this video, because I didn't want to spend time in lecture doing this stuff. And this way you can always go back and watch this again if you need a sort of a reminder about these digital materials. Okay. All right. Okay. Hopefully you guys like this stuff, and I will see you in lecture. All right. Bye-bye.